doesn't care.
Right.
He wants to win. Well, if I have 2 Super Bowl rings, there's not that many quarterbacks that can say that.
That's true.
I mean, Charlie Batch has more Super Bowl rings than Aaron Rodgers, but at the end of the day, who are we going to talk about that's a better quarterback? Ben Roethlisberger has 2 rings, but it was a team effort in each of those.
Well, I mean, Charlie Batch is an interesting example. You're talking about 2 as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I get it. You got 2 rings, serviceable backup. Nowadays, you need a good backup quarterback in case one goes down. For all those people in Miami listening to the broadcast, okay, once upon a time, okay, Bob Greasy was your quarterback. Earl Morrall picked up the slack. Bob Greasy got you 2 rings. So, as a result, even back then, backups were heavily mentioned, and we'll get into another show about prominent backups that went out there and became Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. I don't want to get into the night. Don't want to go off subject. I know you have a point. I'll let you make it while it's fresh off your
Further reiterate it. Who is the backup that's going to be in that AFC title game? Matt Moore, former Miami Dolphin. He won one of those games while Mahomes was injured. So you're absolutely right. You do need a serviceable backup. I mean,
hey, we talked about it before when Tom Brady got
Garoppolo and Brissett.
Well, no, but let me finish, okay? Tom Brady got hurt. Drew Bledsoe won a key game in the NFC Championship game, which enabled Brady to win the Super Bowl. So you better have 2 good quality quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Even the Detroit Lions faltered so badly that when Stafford went down, they never won a darn game all year.
Yeah,
so, but again, we're not going to get into that again. I don't want to get off topic. I know it would be easy to do with this, but the reality is that Aaron Rodgers is the most unselfish quarterback.
He's a very selfless player.
Well, yeah, unselfish, selfish, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is he gave up numbers. He had to buy into LaFleur. I know there was talk at the beginning they had to acclimate with each other. But nobody's acclimating with a 13-3 record, are they?
No. And it's a testament to the coaching staff and to the offense becoming more balanced.
Well, it's a testament to both sides.
Look at the Baltimore Ravens. Balanced offense, and you'll probably agree with me on this, wins every time. Look at Tennessee. Tannehill has only threw 14 times last game, so you can say what you want about balance there. But a balanced offense is going to win you more games than running the ball most of the time, even though Tennessee's defied that notion. Vrabel would attest to that. McCarthy would attest to that, and that's probably what he's going to run in Dallas, and as would LaFleur. Rodgers is still going to throw, and he's still going to do things on the field that make you say to yourself, this guy's amazing, but it's the strength of the defense playing better. Jimmy Graham being there when you need him at the tight end position, and then you have Aaron Jones who can also be serviceable out of the backfield. It is a team effort. Football is a team sport. It's all 11 guys on each side. It's all 52, 53 on the roster. It is not one with one person. And I think Rodgers it's something he's known his entire career.
Well, I'll just say this. We have fantasy football on the network. Ryan Skolrud does an outstanding job. Love him. And he's the type of guy that will bring on once the fantasy stuff gets going again. But I hate fantasy football. I really do. And I'll tell you why, okay? Being an old school media guy, nobody cared about it back then. I was only concerned about sitting at the press box, preparing 4 hours before the game, watching it for 4 hours, and doing what I could do, and putting in my 10 to 12 hours at the stadium. Mm-hmm. I didn't care about all this other side stuff where everybody could get distracted looking at their phones. Well, I don't care about it. I really don't like it. Chances are I probably won't do it this year because I don't want to be bothered with it.
It's reserved for bragging rights Monday morning around the water cooler.
Right, and I have no time for that. I got this network and this online publication to build in other aspects where I don't really have time to be distracted over what I consider. I hate fraudulent football, depending on luck, and how people could go ahead and get in the playoffs under 500 in a very small league. To me, that doesn't reflect anything. I have nothing to prove to do it. And it has nothing to do with anything. I'm just saying when you look at the whole thing in general, yet I understand there's a need for it, and the NFL has popularity because of it, and it's a part of the game, and the fans get into it. I've never viewed myself, and since I've been in this business for 41 years, as a fan. I never said, however, that inside, when nobody can hear me, okay, that my heart's saying, I hope they win because I don't want to go into a locker room, which is like a morgue. You ever been in how many funerals have you gone to in your lifetime?
Well, on a familial side, a few, yeah, but not in a locker room sense.
Well, that's my point, okay? So there's nothing like going into a locker room here, okay, and you have a funeral and your team's losing an awful lot. My goodness, man.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can only fathom it until you work your way into one of those places.
Yeah, you as a sports writer and a personality in this business, you need to be objective because what do they tell us at the FAU games? No cheering, and if you do, you'll be escorted out.
Yeah, well,
you'll have bouncer Bill Winters take you out.
Yeah, well, maybe wait till you go to an NFL game and they escort your butt out of there.
Yeah, the thing is, you have to remember that you're there to do a job.
Well, that's true.
There's one thing about enjoying where you are and being present in the moment, but also remembering that you have a task that you're there to do.
I can tell you stories right now. In Tampa, one time I had a friend of mine who was a PR guy for the Bucks, and you know what? When Barry Sanders broke 2 80-yard touchdowns and the old press box was cheering, he wasn't going to go out there and kick us out because we all admired the moment. So take it for whatever it's worth. It is what it is.
Yeah, and again, professionalism in any. We talked about Kawhi, we talked about Aaron Rodgers, even as sports writers. Well, we may not have the physicality of these guys. At the end of the day, we still have jobs to do too. And in any profession, you can do something, unprofessionally, and you'll be ostracized for it. And that's not what we're trying to do here, and that's not what pro athletes should be doing. And we're going to be talking about that most certainly later in the show, but now...
All right, we introduce our next guest here. We have Bill Winters, who played in multiple leagues in his pro football career. And Bill, welcome back to the Sports Exchange. I know you played with the Giants and you played with every other team imaginable in football. Glad to have you back on the Sports Exchange, Bill.
Nice to be here.
All right, well, Bill, let's talk about Luke Kuechly, who just retired, a early retirement, I believe, at the age of 28.
Correct, yep.
So, Bill, what's your take about Luke Kuechly's retirement?
Well, the heart was willing and the mind was willing, but the body wasn't. He over his 8-year career, I think he's had 3 major concussions. In fact, the last, I think it's since 2017, they actually fitted him with a device called a Q collar. It goes over the shoulder pads to try to minimize the concussions. And, every player eventually faces the eventuality of your body tells you it's time to go. And it was really hard for him because he's such a great player and plays so hard and is such an inspirational player on his team that, it was really hard for him emotionally to walk away from something that he loves at age 28 because he realizes that if he continues to go along this path that he's going to pay a huge price when he gets older, and he's probably paying for it right now. So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell, and it's part of the game.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that can't be forgotten about is he's been paid enough money so it allows him to retire early. Or back in the day, some guys may have stayed on to collect the extra cash. So that's where I'm actually happy, where some of these guys are getting paid more money, so this decision becomes a bit easier, doesn't it, Bill?
Yeah, quite frankly, back when I played, we played a lot, really banged up. I mean, I can't tell you the number of guys that I knew that played past the fact that they wanted to retire just because they weren't getting paid their fair market value. In this case, I'm really glad that, he's probably done well with his money, and he's got a chance to have a nice transition to the real world because, of the pay. So, that's kind of I'm happy for him, but at the same time, I don't feel it's bad for him as I have for some of the guys that played 20, 30 years ago.
Right. Now, obviously, we all know the long-term repercussions playing football, much less pro football, and that, to me, leads to my point, Bill, that the players are bigger and stronger, so there's no question that both of those 2 points play off of each other, don't they, Bill?
Well, to a degree. I think that the running backs are faster and a little quicker, so, of course, it's physics. The collisions are probably a little greater. But I also don't think they did as much hitting as we did back in the day.
Right.
And so I don't know if that's a valid argument.
Okay, and you know what? That's a good point.
Quite frankly, I think there's a lot of guys that played in the 70s that have CTE and and I told you about before, this one of the times I go on my rants. The NFL does not want the liability of taking care of injured players. It's a business decision.
Yeah,
and they push people off as charity cases. And the NFLPA sold out a long time ago, so they deny almost every disability benefit claim. So this is something that we call the pink elephant.
Right.
And I'm kind of it's nice that the guy has a teary, breakup and all that stuff. But quite frankly, it's part of the game, and get over it. And it's just
right
the way it is.
It's only a valid argument, probably as much more so on game day, you know what I mean, and than it has been in the past. But I will give you this, and you are right, because we both were around pro football for as long as we both have it, but in different capacities. Your point is very valid, because during training camp, okay, and this is the thing that the average outsider doesn't see, when you had 2 and 3 day practices were those extra hits, and they were hard. You know it, you lived it, right? So that's where I understand your point. I don't know how big the players were back then, whether 250 was considered a lot versus 280 over 300 pounds. You follow my point, Bill? So I see where there's trade-offs in some instances, but yet I understand yesteryear and a lot of the players that suffered by it. It's a double-edged sword, but you're right. CTE is definitely a threat for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't convince me that the guys that played, if you look at some of the tapes of the guys that played back in the day, you come to the sidelines with a concussion. The coach would put up 2 fingers and say, "How many fingers I got up?" Okay, and he put 2 fingers. The coach would actually put up 2 fingers, and the player would see 3. They just hit the one in the middle and get back in there.
Right.
It was just the cost of doing business. Today, we've got a little bit more awareness, and we're taking care of the players a little bit better. I mean, quite frankly, in a training camp, they don't do a lot of hitting. The offensive linemen are bigger, but I don't think the backs are any bigger or stronger than they were back in the 70s and 80s. We just did a whole lot more hitting back then.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot more wear and tear. So I think as far as when you look at the argument about whether the players are bigger and faster today, we got to be more safety conscious than back in the day. It's a wash as far as I'm concerned.
Good point.
Football, and some of the things they made us do back then, they couldn't get away with today.
Good point. Yeah, and you know what, Bill? I'll take your point a little step further. Okay, the head injury situation where now you have coaches are definitely going to keep players on the sidelines if they sense any trouble where anybody's wobbling. And that not only counts in the NFL, but even in pro football. I remember a situation back when Brady Hoke was the coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and one of his players came out staggering, and it was a bad look. I don't know if you remember it. And let me tell you, the repercussions when you have all kinds of cameras all over the place indeed validate your point. A guy that I've noticed, and his wife lives it through social media, and knowing you probably know him or know of him. Mike Adamle is a guy who's really taken a pounding after his time with the Chicago Bears. So I think he's a great example of everything that you've talked about.
I know Mike Adamle. In fact, him and I auditioned together. He did the play-by-play, and he did the color commentary up in Stamford, Connecticut for the XFL back then when Vince first started that league. That's the first time I got to meet Mike. I've been devastated by how far he's fallen off. Tony Dorsett, same way. Jim McMahon.
Right.
So I mean, it's a reality. Robert Pennywell is a linebacker friend of mine that I talk to. That we talk every once in a while on Facebook. Robert was a hell of a linebacker. I posted something on my Facebook. Great career, Luke. We understand. He immediately responded, going, "Yeah, he retired because of CTE." He's worried about having this when he's in his 40s.
Right.
And it's a distinct reality because of the way he played. And so some of these guys, it's the way it is. In fact, I'll go one step better. The state of California is if you played, reached a certain workman's compensation formula, they're so concerned about it right now that they're writing checks for guys right now. I was one of them. And I maxed out with a very high disability rating because they figure it's going to take a couple $1 million to take care of me, when I'm in my, 70s and 80s if I even live that long.
Right.
So some of the states are already aware of what's going on. They're being proactive by, getting us off the rolls now so we don't sue the states claiming a work injury. In the case of Luke Kuechly, suing the state of North Carolina because you made me play when I was hurt and I got injured on the job, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So the farther west you go, the more liberal they are with, taking care of these issues. But, it's a reality